My name is Shermaine Pemberton and this is my story. I'm from Connery. I've been working at Jenkins Limited for about 12-13 years now. I'm the office manager there. The proud parent of a 10-year-old son, Ajani. Well, like most persons that grew up around my time, childhood was very difficult. Our family didn't have much. My mom had to struggle to get by. She was a single parent. There were 7 of us, so you can't imagine that we were easy to feed. But throughout all of that, we overcame all the obstacles and went on and pursued different aspects of life. And I would like to say that we've been successful so far. I think what stood out for me most as a child was time that I spent with my grandmother. I think she, for the most part, helped to mold the person I am today, instill the qualities that I pride myself on. We used to sit back and just lecture after lecture, do different things, plan together, build personalities and that sort of stuff. And I really value my grandmother for that. One of my worst experiences growing up was an event that I wanted to go through. Burning Flames was performing in St. Kitts. I was in high school at the time, and my mother gave me the go-ahead that it was okay for me to go with my friends. At last minute, she pulled out, and I was so disappointed and distraught. But I had already promised my friends that I was going to be there. So I bought some Mobby because I know Mobby used to put my mom to sleep. So I bought the Mobby, put it in the fridge, knowing that my mother would drink it. She drank it and fell asleep early. And I was counting on that because that was going to be my escape. I got dressed, took off my pajamas and hid them outside where I could easily change back into them after I got back. And I locked my room, not knowing my mother had a key to the room. So I locked the room, and my story was going to be that I was sleeping the whole time. Went to Burning Flames, got back at about 2:33 in the morning. Went to where I had hidden my clothes to change back over. My clothes weren't there. By now I had figured out that I'm busted. Went inside, my mother paced in the living room, trying to find out where I was, what I was doing, and that sort of stuff. By the time she found out that I had defied her, gone to Burning Flames anyway, she basically beat me into the next week. Coming out of that, I knew that this was not something that I was going to ever do again in life. And I had the scars to remind me not to. But at the same time, I was still pretty mad at my mom. One of the most vivid memories I have of my dad is a story from one night when I was supposed to be asleep in my room. I probably was moving around a bit, so he knew I wasn't sleeping. And so he called out, "Shermaine." I said, "Yes, Daddy." He said, "You sleeping?" I said, "Yes, Daddy." He called me and started beating me. And I remember thinking to myself, why am I getting beaten? I said I was sleeping and I was supposed to be sleeping. But then it wasn't for a while after when I realized that the message there was that you shouldn't be lying. So that's what I got the spanking for, actually. That's something I carried away from that experience with my dad. And it's now something that I try to instill with my son. So I always tell him, be the matter what it may, always speak the truth. And don't be afraid of what anybody around you says. The truth comes first. Well, basically, my mom was against us having a whole lot of friends. So while we were growing up, I could remember my friends from childhood, Andrea, Yura, the guys that lived next door, directly opposite us, and we had a lot of fun times together, bathing in the copper, running up and down causing mischief, and my mom would go to work. Most of the playing that we would probably get through with while we were children would be when my mom was away, because she never used to let us play that much. And so when the cat's away, the mice will play. No, I never got involved in anything dangerous or criminal because I know who I had to go home to, and there was no way my mom was going to allow that. As a matter of fact, my mom would always tell this story about what she would say if the police had to call her. Like, they would call, "Hi, are you Vinetta Hall?" And she would be like, "Depends." And she would always say, when they ask on what, she would say on who's calling. And if they identify themselves and say they were calling from the police station, she would tell them, no, you have a wrong number. So we knew that if we got in anything, we would not be claimed. So we never got in anything dangerous. I don't know if it's probably the fact that my mother never used to let us play as much at home as I think a normal child would play. But I was very playful in school. I think to some extent a little bit too much so for the teachers, and used to cause a little bit of mischief. Not so much so that my mother would have to be called, but I used to cause mischief. And one of the things that stood out to me most was when a teacher of mine, Mr. Hanley, pulled me aside and he was like, Shermaine, you have so much potential right now. What are you doing with your life? And it made me stop and take account of who I am and what I wanted to be, and basically it changed my whole perspective. I settled down in school, my grades started improving, and I began to realize that potential that Mr. Hanley saw that I wasn't seeing at the time. Even after I finished with high school, I would pass Mr. Hanley on the street, all through to university. He would be like, how are you doing now? What are you doing with your life? And he still plays that role in my life. And I thank Mr. Hanley up to today. Thank you, Mr. Hanley. One of the most influential persons in my life would be my grandmother, Shermaine Pemberton. God bless her. She's been my rock for many years. She helped to guide and mold me for most of my formative years, and I thank her so much. With regards to the whole boy story, my grandmother created that avenue where you basically discuss anything with her and she would give you a real opinion on it. Not, oh, you can't talk about boys, because it was taboo for my mother. You couldn't talk about boys or sex or anything like that. And my grandmother gave me that avenue where I could ask the most personal questions and she would answer me, and she would also provide insight as to why you shouldn't get involved in certain things, why you may not be ready to expose yourself to something like sex, all the things that follow, like teenage pregnancy, dropping out of high school, never being able to make enough to support you and another child, especially being a child yourself, and different things like that she would bring to the forefront, just always impressing on me, stay on the right path, Shermaine, stay on the right path. If you ever need anything, I'm here for you. Don't go out there trying to find it any other how. And so that has been one of my strongest allies in life, my grandmother. Right now, I'm the president of a club called Kiwanis Club of La Amiga. It's a club that looks after the welfare of children, basically. We try to identify the needs of children in different parts of the community and assist with those needs as best as we can. This is something that is near and dear to me because, like I said, as a child, I felt that I needed that guidance, and so for me to be able to give that back, it fulfills me. The motto of Kiwanis International is changing the world, one community, one child at a time, and this is something that I'm passionate about because it takes one person to make that difference, and you in turn can make that difference for someone else, in effect changing the entire world. I hope that persons in society would see things the way I see it, like it is their duty to give back to their communities, to their countries, to the world on a whole, and that more people would endeavor to get involved in volunteerism. The fulfillment you get from giving back is more rewarding than anything that you'll ever accomplish in life. And well, that is the way it is for me. I can't speak for another person, but when I get home after a day of helping children or helping to mold a child, it's like nothing else you've ever experienced. I think young people nowadays have a very jaded view of society. I think what's missing though is a lot of the things that helped to make us who we were then. I think the community has stopped raising the child, and that is a fundamental problem that we're having today. And I think we need to go back to our roots when those were the days when everybody would take some responsibility in raising that child. Nowadays, the teacher cannot talk to the child because the parent shows up. We need to done away with that, and more teachers and parents need to have better relationships and help to foster the type of outcomes that we want from our society in 10, 20 years and the generations after that. I'd like to encourage all the youths out there to stay positive, continue working towards your goals. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it, because first you have to believe in yourself. And for anybody interested in joining the Kiwanis Club of La Amiga, our email address is StKitts, that's STKITTS@gmail.com. Just shoot us an email and we can give you the information about our club and meeting times. My name is Shermaine Pemberton, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.